Hello. I have a name. I don't want to share it out. I also have to disguise my voice and have to disguise who I am. Because unfortunately, like many, many millions of people in this world, I have suffered through sexual assault. Granted, it is hard to talk about it. And to be honest, I want to make sure that people aren't alone in this battle. Alright. Please excuse me. I would have to take many, many deep breaths as I tell my story, because it is still raw. It's not even a year since this happened to me. Okay. Late last year, I was sexually assaulted by someone I barely even knew. Or, to be honest, he was somewhat of an acquaintance. And even though I had trust issues, I really genuinely thought that he would be an okay person. I didn't want to go into a relationship at that moment because I suffered through a lot of injustices throughout my life. And I'm still reeling over all of that to this day. The difference is that I didn't get help. I didn't get help because I was too ashamed. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. Now I know that there are resources. The day after my assault, I told a trusted adult, and immediately I went to the hospital. The sane nurses were really, really nice. They calmed me down during the procedure. They talked to me and tried to, I don't know, distract me from what had happened the day before. Even then, there were a lot of things that I didn't understand. Not only for the assault, but I guess what happened during the assault. I have to take so many breaths in and out, just to calm myself down while telling you my story. Even though this is a recent assault within the last year, it's not even a year old, I have suffered through my first sexual assault the day after I turned 23. And I experienced sexual abuse as a child by my biological mother's husband. It was painful at the time. When I went into foster care at age 16, that's when I told my foster mother about everything that he's done to me. And even though I did, he never received pretty much any jail time. And after what he's done to me, I mean, understandably, I have been so emotionally and physically and mentally damaged because of what he's done. So much so is that when I was 18, 2 years after I went into foster care, I was diagnosed with PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. It was very gruesome. Or, sorry, I should say, it was very, very troubling. to remember everything that this person had done back then, and also with the body memories, which I used to call phantom pains, because I honestly didn't know exactly what it was. So when I went into foster care, I started to receive therapy from counselor to counselor that was assigned to me. In the end, this has damaged me so much that even to this day, if not worse, that it's extremely hard to trust men. It's hard to trust men of any different types of point of view. And I hate the fact that, I mean, to me, it's my life. It's what has happened. I can't change it. I can't get any closure from that. Because to this day, she is still with him. And now I don't talk to her. It triggers me so much that I still have nightmares over it. The day after I turned 23, I met a young man a couple of days before. And he was truly being friendly. And I thought, like, okay, when he asked if he could have lunch with me, I said, like, you know what, why not? Maybe this will be a chance to build up a friendship with a man to kind of, I guess you can say, test the temperature of the water. When we went into, like, this, I guess, somewhat restaurant, I forgot the name of it. When we went inside, I mean, it was nice enough. We were having fun. We ordered something. We ate. It was perfect. He asked me if he can show me something at his house. Number one, I mean, I said sure. I have nothing else to do. And besides, I had no other way home. So I was kind of stuck either way. So I went with him. It turned out to be the biggest mistake of my life. I didn't understand it then. There were pictures of, like, women in these tight bathing suits, kind of like these lifeguard bathing suits type thing. I found it odd, but I kind of shook it off because I guess that's how men usually are. So I didn't think about it much. Then he told me, oof, sorry. Then he told me to lay on my stomach on his bed. I was confused about that. Before I even asked, he said that he wanted to give me a massage. Again, I was confused, but I guess men do that. Though I didn't understand why they did. Shortly after that, he started to touch me down there with his fingers. It felt weird. I never really learned about sex ed in schools or from my biological mother or anything like that. So I didn't exactly understand what was going on.
I have a name. I don't want to share it out.
In hindsight, I should have.
I also have to disguise my voice and have to disguise who I am.
But
because unfortunately, like many
now
millions of people in this world,
well, not a lot, but
I have suffered through sexual assault. Granted, and it is hard to talk about it. And to be honest,
inside,
I want to make sure that people aren't alone in this battle.
That was when I felt kind of shocked or really uncomfortable.
Please excuse me. I may have to take many deep breaths as I tell my story, because it is still raw. It's not even a year since this happened to me.
And all of a sudden,
okay. Late last year,
all of a sudden,
I was sexually assaulted by someone I barely even knew. Or, to be honest, he was somewhat of an acquaintance.
I wanted to move.
And even though I had trust issues, I really genuinely thought that
almost like I was glued.
He would be an okay person. I didn't want to go into a relationship at that moment, because I suffered through a lot of injustices throughout my life.
It hurt a lot.
And I'm still reeling over
it hurt a lot.
All of that to this day.
That was my first time.
The difference is that I didn't get help.
Having your first time with the person that you truly love.
I didn't get help because I was too ashamed. I was scared. I didn't know what to do.
My first time was with
now I know that there are resources.
Didn't give two shits about me.
The day
and you noticed that I was scared too.
After my assault,
because
I told a trusted adult,
and I looked at him,
and immediately I went to the hospital
or stop. He knew
the same
that I had fear
were really nice. They calmed me down during the procedure. They talked to me and tried to
continued.
I don't know, distract me
when he was
from what had happened the day before. Even then, there were a lot of things that
to go into the shower
I didn't understand. Not only for
I didn't understand
the assault,
I was scared.
But I guess what happened during
why I had to take a shower after everything that's been happening. I felt so confused as to what was going on. I think back then I was still shocked about what had happened, how everything happened. The worst part is that when I was in the shower, there is this little mirror on, I guess, one of the sides of the showers, or one of the walls of the showers, whatever you call it. As I was taking a shower in front of him, I noticed that his member was up. And when I mean member, I mean, I can't say the exact word or the exact medical term of what a member is, because it traumatized me that much that if I say it, then I would be in the same place all over again. Even to this day, when I try to say the male parts or the female parts, I try saying it, but nothing comes out. It's as if that word is blocked by a brick wall. Afterwards, I convinced him to take me to CVS to get something to drink. He obliged. I was in CVS. I felt so dirty and disgusting and just not there. So while he was without earshot, I bought a pack of razors because honestly, I didn't know what else to do. He didn't know any better. Or I should say, he didn't know that I actually did buy razors. So when I went back to the place I was living at the time, I basically broke the razors up, or the shaving razors up, and basically cut myself to a point where it was kind of like a red river flowing from each cut. I threw away the clothes that I was assaulted in. I kept cutting myself and cutting myself, trying to get rid of the pain that I was in. It was something I didn't even understand. Why should I be in so much pain into something I don't understand? Is what I thought several times. I thought then that, okay, this is my fault. I must have done something wrong. I must have done something to anger him or excite him or something. I don't know what I did, but it's my fault. That was my rationale at that time. And even to this time, it still is my rationale. Unfortunately, because I couldn't say no, this had continued to keep moving on into more and more assaults. Since he knew I couldn't say no, he knew that I was scared to report this to the house managers or to the police because I didn't know the resources at the time, nor did I know many of the people at that time to actually be confident and trust them like that. I also believed that they would chastise me. They would be upset with me that I was stupid enough to let this go. So I kept it a secret. In hindsight, that probably wasn't the best idea. But what else could I do? There were more assaults after what happened. Many, if not all, were in public. He went into both holes. He grabbed on to my chest. One time, after a rigorous session of cutting myself on my stomach, led to massive, massive wound. At one point he did ask me, what are those wounds for? I was scared to say it was because of him doing all of this to me, because what if he retaliated? So I told him that a cat just scratched me, and I'm taking care of it. And as the assaults go on, I felt even more ashamed. He was starting to talk about family members having relations with each other, like incest relationships. I felt really uncomfortable talking about all of this with him. I didn't want to talk to him at all. But again, what can I do? I was powerless at this point. At this point, honestly, I thought he took everything away from me, the way that I was. Now I'm just an empty shell that no one would even want to take care of. I felt alone. I felt as if no one can stop what was happening. I thought I had to live with this forever. He made me do things to his member that still triggers me to this day. Of course, I didn't like it. And it didn't, yes, funny enough, sarcastically, it didn't taste good. It didn't feel good. Through both ends. Within my last assault of that person, I remember this was on top of like some parking garage or something. Again, I try to hesitate, just waiting, just avoiding the inevitable of what was going to happen. Even if it's only for a few seconds. Then he told me, okay, let's do it. As this was going on, and with many of the other assaults in the past, I couldn't cry on the outside, but I was definitely crying on the inside. I was crying because I was in so much pain. I was crying because at that point, I wanted to die. I felt as if, what's the point of living if all of this is just going to be like this 24/7? When he showed me incest porn, I realized that, okay, I have to end my life. I have to. And because I was so ashamed of talking to the house managers then, I just decided that suicide was the only answer that I can go through. So I attempted suicide. That attempted suicide led to many years inside a psychiatric hospital. During my time there, I hated the hospital, to be honest. I became more triggered within each day of me being there. They noticed then that
I have a
I
name.
couldn't be around
I don't want to share it out.
anyone else in the ward.
I also have to disguise my voice
So they were
and
concerned.
have to disguise who I am. Because unfortunately,
It was this one
like
therapist
many,
I knew I could
millions
trust.
of people in this world,
And even though I didn't want to say anything,
I have
because I
suffered through
truly
sexual
thought
assault.
that she would chastise
Granted,
me or
it is hard to talk about it.
like hate me or something.
And
But
to
in
be
the end,
honest,
I told
I want
her
to make sure that people aren't alone in this battle.
the reason why I tried to commit suicide and that I almost
Alright,
succeeded was
please
because
excuse me.
of the continuous sexual assaults of
I would have to take
this
many,
person.
many deep breaths as I tell my story, because it is still raw. It's not even a
The
year
worst part
since this happened to me.
is that he was never arrested because I waited too long to get help because I
Late
didn't
last
know
year,
that resource that was
I was sexually
supposedly
assaulted
there.
by someone I barely
And even then,
even
I
knew,
mean, I had to take showers.
or to be honest,
I took a
he
shower
was
in front of him.
someone of acquaintance.
So the evidence isn't there.
And even though I had trust
So
issues,
even when
I
the
really
evidence isn't
genuinely
there, I just thought that,
that
okay, it wouldn't be much
he
use
would be an
into
okay person.
reporting, even though
I didn't want to go
I
into a
didn't know there was
relationship
such
at
a
that
thing.
moment. Because I suffered through a lot
somewhat soon
of
after.
injustices throughout my
Well,
life.
this was with the
And I'm
sexual
still
abuse as well.
reeling over all of that to
But
this
after
day.
my last assault, or
The
my last
difference
assault
is
with the
that
first person,
I didn't
I
get
started
help.
to experience pain between my legs
I didn't get
and my
help
chest.
because I was too ashamed.
Honestly,
scared.
I didn't know
I
what it
didn't know
was.
what
I
to
didn't
do.
know what to do. I
Now I
honestly
know
was
that there
scared
are resources.
because of me not getting checked. I must have gotten an infection
The day
or some type of disease or something
after
like that.
my assault,
Again, keep in mind, I don't know much
I
about
told
sex.
a trusted adult,
I was never taught much about sex.
and immediately I
The
went to the
only thing
hospital.
I know much of is,
The same
per
nurses
se,
were
the
really
genitalia
nice.
of
They
both
calmed
male and
me
female.
down during the procedure. They talked to me and tried
STDs
to,
I learned out
I don't know, distract me
a few years
from
later,
what had happened the day before.
after the first assault. I learned about
Even
that
then,
a few years
there
later.
were a lot of things that
But back
I
then I
didn't
didn't
understand.
But
Not
again,
only
I was too ashamed
for
at that time
the assault,
to say anything.
but
Because
I
they're
guess
probably
what
just going to
happened
tell me, like,
during
oh, it's my
the
period
assault.
that's coming up. And even though I don't know when my period does come, I knew that the pain wasn't from an ordinary period pain. This was coming out something much different. I was so upset. I was so anxious. I was so confused. I didn't know what was happening. Because of my trauma, and because of the hospital that I was in, unfortunately, I've never fully recovered from my trauma. So as to what I should have done, honestly, I don't know. After I got out of the hospital, a few years later, at first, I was okay. I was happy. I got into the best program in the world that helped me a lot more than Pilgrim did. A lot more than the hospital did.